You're on.
We are on. Hi everybody, welcome to Willie's American Guitars. Here we are in the electric room, surrounded by toys. Yeah, look at that. We had somebody say the other day that they love coming in here just for the vibe. We appreciate that because we seed the place with vibe every day and we water it too. I'm coming here to talk to you about Firebird I's, okay? So this is a Firebird I, and they called them, of course you know this, but I'm gonna tell everybody, they fired a Firebird I, a Firebird III that had dot inlay and an extra pickup, a Firebird V, all odd numbers, that had the big crown inlay. Now when the Firebird V came along, they didn't have this wraparound bridge, they had your standard bridge, the better able to intonate you with, my dear bridge, these little tunematic bridges. And then they had the Firebird 7. And the Firebird 7 usually comes in gold, it's gold hardware, custom colors, and they're cool. These are neat guitars. This is a 63. I own this guitar. I'm not going to sell it to you, but I like to pull it out every now and then and look at it because we sprinkle vibe, you know, and it's just kind of cool to have it here. For me, I'm a fan of one pickup guitars just because they're so elegant. Your playing hand goes here and it's just all about the body and the shape and the contours. But in 1965, they figured out they weren't making any money on them because these are neck through body construction. This and this are the same piece of wood all the way through with a fretboard laid on, and then the edges are glued on, and then they put on these big heavy banjo tuners, and all the extra detail they did, putting a ridge along the headstock, it got to be too expensive to make. Here Fender, down in California, was just bolting together guitars and making them just as fast as they could. But they did want this look, and they did this because they were being a bit stoic. So they decided to keep with that. They liked having the Fender headstock because, you know, they're competing. So in 1965, they made these non-reverse. These are much simpler construction. It's a glued-in neck. Just like the SGs of the era, Les Pauls of the era. Oh, that's right, they didn't make Les Pauls. In this year, 65, you could not buy a Les Paul. 65 was also a big year for manufacturing. Tractors, cars, there was a little more mass production going on after 65. That's why people tend to like pre-65 instruments. But like Fender, Gibson, post-65 instruments are still high quality. Real lacquer, old wood, Brazilian rosewood fingerboards, and great ancient wood, old growth mahogany. Honduran mahogany from Honduras. Now Honduran mahogany is grown in the Fiji Island chain. And not that that's bad, it's just these trees from this era were probably 400 to 600 years old. And right now I'm going to go through this magnetone amplifier, which is the Little 15, a 15-watt Marshall thing. Just great little amps. But first, these are both Firebird I's. And again, they made the guitars, the 6 strings, on odd numbers. The basses were even numbers, but they made a Firebird I. This is a Firebird I. I prefer this. Out of all of this non-reverse, I prefer the Firebird I. Why? I'll explain in a second. The Firebird III had a third pickup, P90. The Firebird V then had the larger inlays, and it had mini humbucking pickups, and again they went to this bridge. This bridge is not a wraparound, right? You guys all know this, forgive me, but I'm just going to point this out for people. There are the wraparound bridge, and these wraparound bridges, right? You string it through the back, wrap the strings around, pull it on the string and tune it up. These don't have an anchor. So these on the Firebird 5s and the Firebird 7s are in place like this, and that means you can't get the action down. They didn't mean these guitars, they meant them to have heavy strings. They put 12 gauge strings on these still. The same strings they would put on acoustic, the same gauge. When you picked up one of these, and I have seen at least a dozen that are completely straight, and they have semi-flat wound wound G 12 gauge strings from Gibson, from the factory. And you know what? It sounds great. They have a little different neck angle too because of that, these do. And with that, it was designed for heavier strings. So this is again why I prefer the One to any of these. The One has the wraparound bridge. And you can take and you don't need the anchor to wrap it around. You can just string this, skip the tremolo, which most of these came with tremolos. They were competing with Fender. Most of these came with tremolos, almost all. And then you can wrap this around, bypass this, and get your action down really close. With the Firebird III, they have a wraparound. The Firebird III has the middle pickup. And honestly, it kind of gets in my way. So that's why I prefer the Ones. That's a One. This is a One. And we kind of prefer that. These are good old growth wood, Brazilian rosewood, a classic 60s instrument. They've gone up in value for the past 20 years. This model has gone up in value for the past 20 years at about 10-12% a year on average. Vintage guitars have gone up for the past 40 years about 10-12% on average. I say on average because sometimes they'll flatten out. During the Great Recession of 2008 and 9, everything went down. Your house went down. Your investments went down. Stock market went down. Your vintage guitars went down. It happens. There's no guarantees. But history will tell you these are pretty good investments in the long run for tone. It's all about the wood, baby. And as, you know, investments. They're fun to wear on a strap. They're better than these things. I've worn that on stage and they're neck heavy. They just keep falling. You're always holding the guitar up. These are more balanced for that. And these 2P90s are great. They're kind of out of phase right here. Bridge pickup. Neck pickup. They're great guitars. You can get an easy action even with the tremolo. But if you like a very light action, on these Model 1s, you can bypass the tremolo, wrap it around the bridge, and bring it down as close as you like. You can put 9-gauge strings on these if you want. So, there you go. This is our Firebird I. This is a great guitar. I'm going to say this again. There's intrinsic value. What it costs to make the guitar. Okay? Intrinsically. If you were to make this guitar out of old growth wood, you'd first have to find some. Brazilian rosewood fingerboards. Yeah, there's some out there. Not too much longer. Old magnetics and handmade in the way these are, more so than the robots that are building guitars today. They have duplicating lathes, but if you were to do that, this would be, its intrinsic value would be way over what this is selling for. So what it costs to make it, Brazilian rosewood fretboard, adds $1,000. This guitar is at $89. And, you know, bring us a trade or something. Make us a deal that doesn't have any credit card fees. We'll help you out with the price a bit, but these continue to rise in value and make great investments. So that's what I got for you. Yeah, you want one of these. There you go. That's all I got for now. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the kind words. Do make an appointment. Come in, sit down, try something like this, and learn to love it in a vibe-rich environment. Thank you.